Hello and welcome to the High Performance Guide to Reaper for the fight Suzaku Unreal, the current 7.2 Unreal. This is going to be a narrated clear where I go over the choices I made at various points of the fight to make sure that I ended up with as good a ranking as I possibly could. And at the time of making this video, my rank on my main character is rank 5 for Suzaku, but on my alt it is actually right now rank 1. Of course, a quick disclaimer, every single fight in this game has some degree of variance to it. You can get a better or worse pattern, you could get more or less crits, so don't take this as a gospel guide for how to guaranteed get rank 1 Reaper in Suzaku Unreal or any fight or any job for that matter. Take this more as a guide for how I personally optimize this fight and take it from there to the best of your own abilities. Alright, let's get into it. One very important optimization to do in this fight is that right at the start, Suzaku is actually going to fly away after roughly 10 seconds, meaning your initial burst gets cut short. For this reason, I hold my burst, and so does most other people, until the bird comes back, at which point we will actually go ahead and burst. I will, however, use Gluttony right at the beginning here, just to make sure I get Gluttony back towards the end of the fight at a pretty particular point. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my normal Shadow of Death, Gluttony, and then do 1, 2, 3 of the melee combo. We dodge the dash going through the arena and then get back into position, immediately landing a Shadow of Death, followed by a Soul Slice into Arcane Circle. Do the follow-up, and then another Soul Slice, and then go right into your normal Reaper Burst. The main reason for doing this is of course to make sure that we land the entirety of the burst on the boss instead of half of it getting wasted due to the boss becoming untargetable. Now this next bit is one of those high variance points that I mentioned before. You are kind of at the mercy of your main tank, making sure that you are getting into position to be able to do all of this. So the tank pulls the boss towards the feather. I do the AoE version of Shadow of Death to make sure I hit both the bird and the feather. I can still hit the boss from here while I resolve the spread, waking up the Phoenix. Go back to hit the Phoenix a little bit, the feather, sorry. And then as soon as the Phoenix come in range, I do another AoE Shadow of Death, and then Harvest Moon. Doing it like this makes sure you have a Shadow of Death boosted Harvest Moon hitting 2 targets, when even just hitting the 1 is always great, but hitting 2, you know, that's just gravy. After this, we just continue hitting the boss as normal. Make sure not to Enshroud. This is very, very important. Do not Enshroud. If we Enshroud at this point, it is over. Just save up the resources, make sure not to overcap. You don't overcap if you just keep hitting the boss. Just build up the gauge, build up the gauge. If you were lucky, you actually get to finish this melee combo, and if you didn't drift at all, which is really nice. And then as soon as the bird flies away, Soul Soak. This just gives you a free extra Harvest Moon to use in phase 2, and there's really nothing to do at this point anyway, so might as well take advantage. I'm gonna cut the DDR game out because it's not really important, and tune back in here at the end of it when we get ready for our reopener. And this is when the real magic happens. We are now getting into our reopener with a damage up and pot available. So right at the start, I actually land a Soul Slice before I do anything else, just so that I can then immediately go into a double Enshroud. So you can't Soul Slice when you're in Enshroud, this is just a sacrifice I have to make. We do the Enshroud as normal. The Dancer was a little bit trigger happy here, unfortunately, but that's life. We pot and we burst. When you enter the second Enshroud, make sure to remember to knockback immunity just as you land the first Enshroud GCD. Do this here, it's gonna work every single time if you do this opener. At the end of the second Enshroud, when our pot is still actually running, we can do a Gluttony. Make sure to land them with positional bonuses of True North if you have that available. We land 1 Soul Slice to make sure it doesn't overcap, and then immediately back into Burst again. So we still have the damage up from doing the DDR game perfectly, and we actually had a second or 2 left of the pot right at the end there, so our Sacrificium was able to land in pot as well. At this point, we have about 20 seconds left of the damage up, and we are about to land our first just normal combo GCD. We do that, and then we go immediately back into Enshroud. There's about 10 seconds left, so this 4th Enshroud, in fact, is now going to land perfectly in the damage up as well. What we just did there is an absurd amount of extra damage. I did a double Enshroud, reopener, Gluttony, another Enshroud, 1 GCD, Bloodstock into Gibbet or Gallows, and then straight into a 4th Enshroud, all with the 1 minute damage up. This is insane. Don't pot in the opener, instead pot for the reopener where you have all of this extra gas available. I promise you it's worth it in the long run. So with all of that taken care of, now we just go into business as usual mode. Just dance around, making sure not to get hit by any of the explosions. I like to dodge between the blue and the yellow, it just makes life easier for me. I used to do like the full merry-go-round and spinning around the boss and going in a circle, but that was kind of annoying. Personally, I always ride the mesmerizing melodies and ruthless refrains apart from right at the reopener. Just for consistency, that means I never have to rely on the actual immunity. So we go straight into another 2-minute double enshroud as usual. This one is a bit annoying, and if you were to pot in the opener, this is where your second pot will become available, which is of course not great, because this one, just like the opener, gets cut short. See here, like a couple of seconds just get sucked away from us right there, which is not great. There's not much we can do about it, really. It's just make sure to get as much of it as possible into the burst, and then cry about the lost uptime. Back into business as usual, filler mode. We just build resources, try to land any positional that you can. The boss is facing you with its ass for 90% of the time, and you have True North available for any other situations. It might seem pretty small, but it does add up a lot over the fight, especially when the boss is this stationary. We're gonna go into the next version of the spinny aroundy dance game with the bird. Make sure to do the mesmerizing or ruthless refrain here. At this point it's completely random, so you just gotta react to whichever one you see. Dodging between the blue and the yellows just to make sure I'm always in position for rear. That means if I do have to use True North, I only really have to use it on one GCD, because the other one is always rear, so it's always pretty free. Not much going on here, we're just building resources as usual, try to avoid getting hit, don't let Gluttony drift, all the usual. We are coming up on the next 2 minutes, we still don't have our pot available, so no need to worry about that. This is the one with the knockback towers, and here there's a, 50-50 that you get the good pattern, which is the knockback, because that one you can just knockback immunity. If you don't get that, then this is what we have saved Harvest Moon for all this time. This will be a situation where it is pretty much perfect to use it. Some buffs will probably still be up when you get it off, which means it's always a DPS gain over any other GCD. Unfortunately, we don't have pot available for it, but you win some and you lose some. So we get into position for the knockback towers. If we get the circle, the spread around us, we can knockback immunity it, otherwise we gotta ride it into the tower. Make sure not to let the combo drop. This time we were tower. Harvest Moon perfect. And then Gluttony. Had to run a little bit extra here, that was a little bit scary, but it's fine. This fight really doesn't hurt all that much. The next thing that's a bit of a crapshoot that you don't really have much control over is this when you get the Force Walk. There's nothing to say about it really, you just again try to keep uptime for as long as possible. If you didn't use Harvest Moon before because you were the spread, so you could knockback immunity it, you could use Harvest Moon during this bit just to make sure that you keep uptime. I either get lucky and the boss is pulling exactly where I need to go, or you have to use just a harp just to fill out the time. This might have been the run where I actually... Yeah, I think so. I think I was too close to the yellow on this one, so this is going to look a little bit embarrassing, but... We'll see here. Yeah, I actually got hit on this one. That was a bit stupid. Just needed to step back once more. Alas, even mistakes like that still happen, even after playing basically nothing but Reaper. Circles are still going out here. It's kind of easy to forget, so I'm glad I caught that one. It would have been very embarrassing. Our next 2 minutes is about to come up, and this time we actually do have pot available. So this is going to be our double Enshroud with the second pot of the fight, because we did the one after the DDR game. It starts a bit weird, so you still gotta remember to actually do the last set of explosions there. Easy to forget when you're just getting ready to go into double Enshroud. If you have not drifted your Gluttony at all, you might be able to catch it at the very end of the pot. More than likely you have drifted a little bit too much and it's actually not gonna be worth it. Yeah, I actually got one of the GCDs in there. That was fine. We are creeping closer towards the end of the fight. This was a pretty long run. We were lacking a bit of damage, but it's gonna end up being not that bad for me personally, as you will see shortly in about 2 minutes. But for now, it is just, again, build up resources, make sure to land positionals, make sure not to drop your Shadow of Death. Because I was the only melee this run, I was a bit worried we weren't gonna meet the DPS check, so I did LB. This is not something I normally recommend. You are the last person that should be limit breaking normally. And the reason for that is that Reaper just builds resources while GCDing. If you don't GCD hit, you don't build resources, meaning you do less damage. It's pretty simple. But you do what you have to do to get the clear, unfortunately. Another mesmerizing or ruthless refrain to avoid. At this point, I don't think there's any more left, so if you have knockback immunity remaining, you can just use it there. It usually ends up quite alright though. Depending on how the kill time is looking, you might have to send that last end shroud that I have stored up right now, because I knew we were going to go past it. I was saving it to make sure that I got a full double end shroud off here, but if I was expecting us to kill a minute earlier or 30 seconds earlier, it would have not been worth it, and I would have had to use the end shroud before the burst came. But this is the last one, and as I said before, it's pretty close. Not gonna lie, I was kind of sweating, but it ends up working out in our favor, as the very last GCD I got to land was a Perfectio, which, as you are surely aware, is pretty good. Just to make sure, this was the run I did. This is still a 99, even though I had to limit break, even though there were minor mistakes here and there. But I think just because of how I do the first phase and the reopener, I think I'm just adding so much padding to myself here that it really doesn't matter. It's going to be fine anyway. Rule 1, get the clear, and then work on improving your damage after that. And as always, remember, this is just a tool to measure yourself against yourself, making sure to always improve against what you were doing yesterday, not improving against me or anyone else. This is not a competition. This is a game that you're playing for fun. It's a PvE game. Please don't be elitist. It's a PvE game. There are no rankings for this other than the ones I just showed you, but they don't mean anything. Just go out there and have fun. And as always, if you have any questions on Reaper in general, for this fight specifically, or any other for that matter, please don't hesitate to drop a comment asking whatever you want. I'm happy to help, happy to always answer questions. And I thank you very much for watching.